Our next step is to assemble the outside or exterior of the bag. When you're doing this, there are two pieces that are going to make up the outside. We've got a nice trim piece and then the body piece. We're going to start with the body piece. We're going to sew just like we did on our lining piece, 1/2 inch from the bottom, and mark it and clip it. And again, make sure that you know which side is your bottom, which side is your top, so that you're sewing on the right side. I'm just going to bring this to my machine. I'm not going to backstitch. I really enjoy sewing on this foam product. I think it's a lot of fun. All right, so that's my first piece done. I'm going to do the same thing with my second piece. Okay, there's both my pieces done. Now I'm going to measure and mark and trim just like I did on my other pieces. Remember, on my small or medium basket, the smaller size basket, it's going to be 6.5 inches, and on the large basket, it's going to be 8 1/4 inches. That's really the biggest difference between the two of these, that and where we're going to place our handles. So I'm going to mark this using my regular old pencil. If you're marking with something fancier, that's great. Just going to grab these threads. And while I have my scissors, I'm just going to go ahead and clip. Remember, to the seam, but not through the seam. And I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side. All right. The next thing that we're going to do is attach our trim piece to this main body piece. Well, all we're going to do is put them together, right sides together, and we're going to sew along this edge right here. You're working with a lot of bulk here, so I do recommend pinning, even though I don't love to pin. It's going to really help you to get it through your machine better though. All right, there's one. I'm just going to do my other one. All right. I'm going to take them to my machine and I'm going to sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance. I am going to backstitch at the beginning and end of this. This is really thick. It's going to feel like it's not sewing, but it does. It's amazing how it can go through all those layers. Oh, backstitch. Okay, so now we've sewn our two pieces together. The next step is that we're going to top stitch. Now, when you're doing this one, there's really not, it's not a good idea to split your seam and do 2 top stitches, because we've got so much bulk here, we're just going to want to do 1. So I'm going to choose to either top stitch on my trim side or on the body side, and I want to push all of my seams to that side. So on the back, I'm going to push over, oh, pesky threads, I'm going to push it over and then top stitch on this side, or I'm going to push it to this side and top stitch on this side. It's really up to you. I'm going to choose to top stitch towards my trim. And you'll remember, I do this top stitching the same way. I pick a spot on my foot. Right now I'm picking this spot, and I like to use my needle down option. And I'm just going to make sure from behind as I feed this through that all of my seams are going to the right side. You could go through and pin, but I just like to go slow on my top stitching and make sure that everything is lined up nicely, that my seams are falling in the right place. And if I need to stop it all, I just put my needle down so that it doesn't shift around. These are the little steps that are going to show in the end, so just take your time. Don't be in a rush. I'm just going through and checking my back regularly, making sure that seam, all that bulk on the back is falling to the same side that I'm top stitching on. The reason why I don't pin when I'm doing this is because it's so bulky, it's really hard to get the pins through without really causing an issue with the way it falls on my, it just kind of bunches up if you pin it. So I like to not pin it and just do it by hand. All right, and now this side is done. You're just going to complete the same steps for this other side that we started, and then we'll go to the next step.